lunch. Now, what's going to happen in about a half an hour, y'all are going to go like sort of go comatose or something. So we're going to pump it up a little bit in about a half an hour, right? Okay, now in Monty Python, probably not many Monty Python pans, but in what they said is in Monty Python, and now for something completely different. And so we're going to be talking about applique in the next 90 minutes. I'm going to try to fit as much as I possibly can into that because we're basically doing two different things. We're talking a little bit about the machine, not so much in this hour and a half. We're going to be talking about this fabulous little guy. It's a cutter, and we're going to be doing a little bit of software before we get to it because I want to review just a little bit what applique in the hoop is, okay? So applique, as you probably know, is laying fabric on top of other fabric and doing a stitch around the outside edge, right? And so how we've traditionally done it in the past is we've taken our applique, we've put it on there, and with our sewing machine, we've either set it to a blanket stitch or to a satin stitch, and we hung a certain way, and we made sure it went around everything that it was supposed to go around, right? Turning those corners was fun, right? Not so much. And so applique is still traditionally done on the sewing machine, and you're turning it around and following that edge, covering the raw edge of the applique. Well, what's so fabulous about the embroidery machine is it covers the raw edge of that applique, but it does it so beautifully because that's how an embroidery machine does it, right? The stitches are beautiful. So when I'm turning that corner, I don't have to worry about, making it look like a mitered corner or anything like that. It takes very little practice for me to be able to get a beautiful applique. So I brought one of my samples because there's two kinds of embroiderers. Right. One who test and the ones who wish they had tested, right? So I'm going to do this cute little quilt, and this is my test. No, not great materials at all, but it gave me an idea of the process. Technically, this is supposed to be done on with a batting, and you get a whole quilt when you're done at the end. But this is just my trial to see, all the different materials and such. So I'll pass this around. I'm going to be doing a quick and easy. I'm going to bring up on the machine here how it does the applique to show you kind of the traditional way that you're doing applique in the machine because some people missed it from this morning, okay? So I'll pass this around and you guys get to see it. It's just a sample. Now, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be on the machine a little bit. I forgot to tell you I was going to be there. He's going to hurt me bad.
Okay, we'll get it on camera.
Okay, so I brought up a little applique on a machine applique in the machine. And I have the same one on my computer. We're going to look at it in just a second. And just for grins and giggles, let's take off that grid so we can see it. That's not what I want. Let's just go to the crosshairs, okay? So it's a little bit easier to see, correct? Okay, so this is my applique. See how it's all these different goofy colors? Right? Those are just colors that are separated because I'm going to put my real colors in when I do my stitchery. So in applique, in the machine, in the hoop, what we're going to do is see how this is going to be my design up here? It's in that blue. Let's cut, it's kind of hard to see. Maybe I have a different color. Okay, so in any applique in the hoop, there are 3 different times the machine deals with that line. The first one is called applique position. So if I go ahead and stitch this out, all it's going to do is go around that line with a straight stitch. That's the place for me to put my fabric. After it stitches this, then I'm going to take my fabric and place it on there, and then I'm going to do the next color, which is absolutely the same thing, and it's going to stitch my fabric down. You with me? And then I get the best, sexiest applique scissors I have, and without taking this out of the hoop, I cut around everything that doesn't look like my applique shape. The trick is doing what? Getting it close and not taking it out of the hoop. Getting it close and not taking it out of the hoop. So I got a piece that I did here. Hold on. Hold on, wait for it, wait for it. Okay, so here's a piece of fabric, and I am going to lay it down now over the top of the applique position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch it again. I'm going to do bright red thread, but would I do that when I'm doing my real project? No, I'm going to use matching thread for all of this process. While I'm here, I'm going to show you one thing that's going to come up a little bit earlier, a little bit later. Earlier is already passed. This is a piece of white fabric, okay? What I've done is I've ironed a piece of no mesh, no show stabilizer to the back of it. What's reason I did that is sometimes when you're layering appliques, that something can show through of white fabric. Have you ever seen that? Right? So when you're dealing with a very lightweight fabric, do a sample and a test and see if any other threads show through the back of it. If they do, you can always use a piece of that no-show stabilizer, right? And it will block most of the stuff. I have samples for that tomorrow. We'll deal with that a lot more tomorrow, but I just wanted to share that with you that you know. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this over the top, lower the boom, press start, and what it's going to do now, it's going to stitch that very same line, but now I'm going to have to come in there and cut away what doesn't look like my applique. Remember last seminar what we talked about? We talked about taking a shape and making an applique in the Destiny. How I had to have those two straight lines and then I come in with my satin stitch. Well, we just did the second straight line. Okay, now I just took off my microphone. There we go. I knew those yo-yos were there for something.
Cathy,
Yes, ma'am.
can this be done on any machine?
Yes, any embroidery machine will do this.
Okay, so that first you said applique position, it'll do it automatically.
Right, and there's designs. I brought some designs. Designs are designed for machine applique. Even some of our machines have had applique designs built in them. So you know it's going to be an applique when you look through it and you see these different lines coming on in. Okay, so I'm not going to do this all the way through, but now I come in and now I cut away what doesn't look like my applique. Doesn't this look like fun? That's a teaser, isn't it? So I'm going to get pretty dang close to it. I'm going to cut around it. You're murmuring because you're really excited about my scissor technique right now, right? So I'm not doing this well because no real embroideries are harmed here. But can you see in your mind, let your mind run free. What could go wrong right now? How many thousands of things can go wrong right now? Right? Just let your mind just wander down that path. Oh my gosh. I don't even have to talk about them. So yes, you can do, with any machine, you can do an applique in the hoop this way. This is how it's done. Now when I come back in, and I didn't cut that well, but please, it's 90 minutes, you know. So now on the screen here, it's actually given me the place for the next applique. And generally, when there's multiple appliques in a design like there is in this one, you'll be tacking down all the fabric in that same process I've done. And then as a general rule, you'll come in and do all your sexy satin stitches, unless you don't. I mean, you know, there's a reason you don't, right? So that's basically how it works. Now the machine's going to eventually come in and do that satin stitch around there. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay, so that's how an applique happens in the machine. Now let's take it and make it oh so much more fun than that. Okay, so here's the little tail of my little fox, okay? And so it's kind of cute, isn't it? And so this is what I was talking about with that white fabric. So you can sort of kind of see that fabric in the background just a little bit. I'll pass it around. If I hadn't have done that, then it would really have shown through and I would not have been pleased. Really. really. And so I'll pass this around so you can take a look at it. But what happens is I have cut these shapes out with my cutter and not gone around there with my little scissors very carefully. So I will show you. And so here's a little monogram. Here's a little monogram. And I bring my failures, but this is not too much of a failure. See all this intricate little stuff? Wait for it, wait for it. See all this intricate little stuff? Can you, and there's a cat hair right there. So, cat hair adds that extra added embellishment dimension. Okay, so, see all this extra, you see this little stuff in here? How much fun would it be to cut that out? I'm just saying, not fun at all. And so what happens is you can take an applique design and you can tell the cutter machine to cut out the fabric for you. Let's do it. Now, I'm going to do that, but you can stay here. I went shopping around this morning, just a little bit, you know. And so I looked at some of these really cool embroidery applique designs that y'all have out there. Guess what? Can you see this right here? Check it out. Bonus! SCG files for cutting it out are included with the embroidery. Oh! Isn't that cool? This one is an SVG pin draw. SVG is your new favorite file extension. See this little design in here? The machine will draw for you as well, so that's drawn with a pen. Oh! It also has all the videos to show you how to do it. This is pretty sexy. See the little card thing down here? You know what this is? This little recharger thing? That's vinyl you've cut out on the machine. And oh, by the way, there's a matching embroidery design. Just saying. Okay, so all kinds of fun stuff. Does it sound like intriguing?
Yeah.
All right, let's go over here and let's go to the, now that you understand the process, let's go play in Embroidery Works just for a little bit. Now, Embroidery Works is software that's for editing. It's not for creating an embroidery design. It's for taking an embroidery design and doing all kinds of stuff with it. I'm not going to go through all the stuff it does here, but it does a ton of different stuff. So, stand down. Clear. And we didn't unplug the silhouette at all. Okay, so here's my same little foxy. Okay, same little guy, and I brought him up in Embroidery Works Every Day. Now, Embroidery Works Every Day is embroidery editing software, and I know because I looked in one of Janice's Silhouette Cameo bundles, she has included this software. This is not just for the cutter. Let's all say that together. It's not just for the cutter, but it does stuff that plays with the cutter, okay? So, that's the part we're going to play with today. So, am I here? I'm good. All right, okay. So, here's my embroidery design. You with me? I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm working on a computer. Okay, over here on the side is... And see, my computer got dropped on his head. Can you see that parts? Yeah, I know. Okay, so here's my design, and I hit this. It shows me all the different parts of my embroidery. And so I'm going to go down. Now, this is for quilting in the hoop as well. So that's what all these little lines are. I'm not interested in those. I'm interested in this part right here, which is my same part I just showed you on this. That's my applique position. Okay? Now, I want to tell the software doesn't know. It's not smart like we are. It doesn't know that we want to make this as an applique. So what I'm going to do is come down here to where it says thread. And I'm going to click on thread. And, nope, that's wrong. I already did that part, so sorry. See the color I have down here? That's where I'm going to click. And now it's going to bring it up so that I can change the color. But what part I'm interested in is right up here. See the part that says Appliqué? You with me? So I'm going to click on that, and it says this part is not Appliqué. We know better. So we're going to pick the drop-down menu, and we're going to pick what? Appliqué position. And so look what came up. All kinds of cool stuff. But what am I interested in? Cutting. Oh! So what I want to do is I'm going to pick cutting, and then I'm going to save this as a file for my cutting machine. Now, one thing that I've been playing around with, see where it says inflate? What inflate does is it takes this where the thread is, right, and it blows it up just a touch. So you have thread to catch into. Does that make sense? Right? Because if it was cut the same size, right, you'd be stitching in air, and what good is that, right? So I think the default on the software is a 1/2 millimeter, which is pretty small. I thought that was a little big, so I've been changing mine to 0.3. You can check yours out when you test what you're going to stitch, so that you know that you are happy. So I've done mine at 0.3, and I'm just going to, now my hands have never left my arms. Okay, so far I think this is pretty simple. Right? Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Save it as, now you come down here, and there are all kinds of different SVG, PLT, FCM, Studio, because this ain't the only rodeo that's out there, right? This software plays with them all. I got a Silhouette Cameo Studio, so I'm going to save it as a what? Studio, and I'm going to name it ANPLFX1C. Doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot to me. So I'm going to say this is the fox body. Fox body. And so now I'm going to hit save. Now if I wasn't talking, that could be done in about 30 seconds flat. Okay? Now the software does a whole bunch of other stuff. But one thing to remember for appliques, you're going to pick out every one of these appliques, find them on here, and tell it that you want the applique position to be a cut file. The next color, oh, then it's okay.
Inflate that one, Cathy.
Huh?
You inflated that with 0.3, right?
I inflated at 0.3. I think the default comes up 0.5.
Okay.
That did not please me.
Inflate, okay.
Right. And you can try it whatever works for you. You know, now, okay, point of order.
Depends on what you're embroidering.
Depends on what you're embroidering, isn't it? Right? So say I was doing say I was taking a built-in shape and making like a snow globe. Right? I was going to cut out some vinyl or like some chiffon or something like that, right? So I might change the inflation for that. Make sense? Okay, cool. Yes, ma'am.
Why were you saving it as a studio file when that wants an SVG?
It'll play with both.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
But these SVGs are more generic. I'm just guessing that they can't say Silhouette Cameo Cutter because they might have to pay to say Silhouette Cameo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just, you know, that's my guess. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. Okay, so now this here, if I want to, I can come in and tell that this is applique material. Not that big a deal, but I can. Notice when I chose applique material, I didn't get the cut file. So really all you have to do is find all the first ones, mark them as applique position, and then you can save those files for your cutter. Okay? All right, so that's basically, I've done that to my with my little parts here. Okay, and I'll pass this around and you can see my little parts. This is a separate one than this one because the plaid's going a different way. But take a look at that, and we're going to cut something really, really fast here. And I'm going to pass this around. This is an Applique font that I purchased for a whopping $5, okay, online. Now, I'm going to come over here and show you. Can you see it? See how these overlap a little bit? One thing that Embroidery Works does is if something's overlapping, it automatically takes away the stuff on the bottom. Automatically, which is pretty cool, okay? So I'll pass this around, and you can see this one, when you look at it, you'll see a couple little hairs here. I didn't do any cutting besides what the cutter did. I had a couple little things that I might want to do a little bit better next time, but I didn't do anything that the cutter didn't do. Okay, so you ready to go to the cutter? Yeah. All right. So I saved that file, and I'm going to bring up the software that comes with the cutter. It comes with software. Now, one thing I started to play with the cutter is, I've been sewing for a long time. And anything with a needle thread I can kind of get, right? And then when I started to sew, and y'all started to learn to sew, right? If you're sewing on silk chiffon, is it different than polar fleece? Yes. Just a little bit, right? So did you kind of know that in the beginning? Not maybe so much. You had to learn it. You had to get in there. When you sewed cotton, it was different than knits. So when I first started to play with this, I was dealing with all kinds of different materials that I haven't played with before, right? So what I'm trying to say now is give yourself that same sense of wonder and adventure when you first started to sew, right? So just kind of get in there and say, I never cut vinyl before. Let's bring it on in and let's go, well, what are the steps that I need to do? Because it's a whole new adventurous world and it's pretty fun. Okay, so this is the software that comes with Silhouette. And it looks, you know what? It looks pretty similar to some of the stuff that we already have. The little icons do different things, but I can draw in this just the same as I can draw in software. So I'm going to bring in a file. I'm going to go with a new page. Here's a new page. And I don't know if I didn't save that little file. Oh yeah, I did. Duh. I saved Fox Body, didn't I? Okay, Fox Body, okay. Looky there, looky there. Just like underwear. Just like old lady underwear. Exactly. Now, we were so good this morning. What was in those sandwiches? That's what I really want to know. So now, if I want to take this and I want to send it to my cutter, okay? So here I am. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this step by grueling step. You get to play with it and do that because that would take more than our 90 minutes. We could have a 3-day seminar on just this, but we're not going to do that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I am going to tell the machine that I am going to use a 12 by 12 cutting mat. Pretty simple so far, yeah? Now I am going to come in and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go down to this little guy which looks like a little cutter, and that brings in my cut settings. And I'm going to tell it I want to cut the edge all around there. Are you with me so far? Okay. And then I'm going to come down because I can cut this out of all this stuff. See all that stuff? I can cut it out of all that stuff. I'm going to cut it out of fabric. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pick fabric, thin fabric like a cotton print. Okay? Now, what that's going to do is that's going to tell me what I need to set my blade at. And so we're going to come over here and see it in just a minute. But I have a little cutter blade in there that could cut more or cut less. If I was cutting cardboard, it would be more. If I was cutting vinyl, it would be less. It suggests 3 for my fabric. So I'm going to go over there and set it to that. Actually, I like a setting of 4. How do I know that? I tested. And so I did a test, and a 4 is pretty much my happy number. Okay, so now I'm going to send it over there, and we're going to cut it in just a second. But here's the thing. Let's bring it on back to applique. So, can you guys see these? Yeah? That's my fox head, okay? Now, there's a couple ways to do applique. What you need to do is you need to get it into the hoop, and you saw me going around that, right? But what happens if fabric is not stiff? What happens? It'll wrinkle, it ain't going to lay flat, and you're going to be fighting it with every fiber of your body. And so what we want is we want fabric that's fairly stiff. In the past, we've had something that we could put on the back of it, right? Iron-on, yeah? And so if I were to iron something on the back of it, I make it like an iron-on patch, correct? Now, I can do that, and I've done appliques that way in the past. But there's kind of one drawback when it comes to iron-on fusee. Do you know what that is? It's stiff, right? It's really stiff. And so your quilts aren't as soft and gushy and warm and fuzzy. And if it's okay for like a wall hanging or something, but if you want soft and drapey, that fusee keeps it stiff. And you may not want it to be stiff like that all the time. So we need our fabric to be fairly stiff to cut it, because this excels at cutting paper and vinyl. But if I was to put soft, gushy fabric in there, what do you think would happen? Yeah, it wouldn't be a good demo at all, would it? It'd be mushing it around, okay? So I need my fabric to be stiff. I could put fusee on the back. That's going to stay stiff. So everyone's been asking me, I kind of get a teaser about this. This is where we talk about, drum roll please, Material Magic. Yay! There's a visual. Can you see it? Okay, so I'm going to set it up here bravely on my laptop. Now, what the heck is it? Material Magic is starch on steroids. And I'm going to stand up. Can you see me pretty good? And I actually put glasses on so I can see you. Okay, so what we need is we need a fabric that's going to be kind of stiff when we're doing our applique. By the way, works on traditional applique when you're sewing it as well. Doesn't have to be in the embroidery world, okay? So what it's going to do is you get the fabric wet or material wet with it, and when it dries it stays stiff, and then you can iron it out nice and flat. It feels like paper, and I have some to pass around. There's some in the little baggie, and remember I did that red work this morning? Well, here's my tea towel. Right? And when I wash it, what happens?
And just so you know, we are totally sold out of the spray, okay? So
it's coming. More will come. Put it on your order, and then you get to come back and visit again and pick it up. And then you'll have that time to, oh my gosh, this stuff does so much. Get things right. So I'm going to pass these around, okay? This is the stiffness, and stiffness is good when we want fabric that way. That's a very good question. I was just in Houston. Did you hear about the rain in Houston? It took it a little bit longer then, and you all get some humidity in the summer, right? Just a little bit. So what the best way to do is to apply it to fabric. I have like one of those plastic inexpensive tubs, sprayed it, and then if I didn't get the fabric all wet, mop up the tub with the fabric, then lay it out flat, and when it's mostly just damp, just iron it. Just iron it dry. It's starch on steroids. How would you put on starch?
Spray it on.
Same thing, kind of the same thing. Okay, so now we've got our stiff fabric. Now, that's pretty cool if I'm even not doing it in the embroidery, if I'm doing a traditional applique, because it keeps it stiff, the edge doesn't fray when I cut it, and it lays it out flat when I'm doing my embroidery. So if I'm doing this with all these little loops and hoodoos and all this kind of fun stuff, it's going to lay it flat. I still might want to be able to fuse it. So I went around the store this morning and I discovered lots of things. This is no-sew thread, just a couple drops. Well, put your applique down. I found Roxanne's glue basted, just a couple drops, and it's going to be glued down. I found Nancy Zeman's double-sided basting tape. I found Stitch Witchery. I found Wonder Tape. I found this really, really, really cool pin with had glue in it, and I found Floriani Applique Wonder Tape. But then I saw this. This is Beau Nash Fuse It powder. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. I can get my applique, cut it out, it's going to be stiff, and I only want a light fusey on the back, right? So if I put it upside down, I could sprinkle like this, like so much powdered sugar on my Christmas cookies, and it would be fusey? That's pretty cool, right? And then, but wait, there's more. Then I want to fuse it when it's in the hoop, right? Right? Now, I don't know about you, but my iron's a little bit big for this. Guess what? The hoop iron! And the Steady Betty to set it on! Oh my goodness! So anyway, so I could take my little cutty out. I could put a little bit of the fusing on the back, no matter what it is. Now, or glue, do I really, really need that? No. Only if it starts to slide around and gets goofy on me, okay? So I put it on there. I don't want it to scoot because I want it to be perfectly placed. If it's not perfectly placed on there, remember I have 0.3 millimeters of room, or wiggle room, right? That's great because it's not going to be sticking out on the outside edge of my satin stitch, but that means I have to do what? I got to kind of nail it, and it can't scoot around on me. So I kind of want it to stay in there. So if you have to do something, there's multiple choices. Yes, ma'am.
Can you put on the screen what you're talking about, the fusible powder, so we know what
I haven't taken it out. Do I have permission to take it out of its little bag?
to sell the box?
Like you own the place, right? All right, here we go. So I'm going to open it up. I probably have to buy it now. Yep. Look, I do. Do I get? I thought it was 25% off. For me, 30. Oh. Okay, so here's my applique. It's not really, but go with it, okay? So here's my Beau Nash Fuse. Can you see it? No. Now we can. Fuse It powder. Look at what the top looks like.
Like a salt shaker.
Just like a salt shaker. You with me so far? Do I have to go slower?
You're good.
You can't see it. It's really cool. It is a fine, it looks like salt on the back of my little guy.
Yeah.
And well, I don't have an iron, but we'll fuse it a little bit later, I promise. How do I what?
You're going to lose the powder if you flip it over.
Use the area where you're going to put it. Yeah.
I got a better idea, and it just came to me. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I'm going to cut it out with the cutter.
Oh my God.
You with me? Look at what I get. What's that? It looks like a stencil mask to me. I've been throwing this stuff away. So what I could do is I can take this and I can literally lay it over my project and sprinkle the stuff on my fabric and then oh my goodness. This is a blog. You were here when a blog was born. That is so cool. So that's how I would do it with my new Beau Nash sprinkling $9.99 with 25% off. And there's only 2 left. They'll order it. It's okay. I truly didn't know about this stuff before I came in here. If someone wants to adopt this one, I only sprinkled a little bit. I'll put it up there. And I can wait. Okay, so did everyone get that? Okay, let's cut something, shall we? Enough of this talk about stuff. Okay, so this fabric has been made stiff with Material Magic. And I have taken it and I have put it on my cutting mat. This is the cutting mat for the Silhouette. And you can get them bigger, right? And this is the 12 by 12. We'll talk about vinyl in a little bit. You know all those cool things that they have on the top of the walls? You know, the letters and stuff like that they put out? This will cut 10 feet at a time. Yeah, and you don't even need a mat for that, but I digress. Okay, so I've put this fabric on my mat, and now I'm going to send this cut off to the Silhouette. I'm going to move it in the upper left-hand corner of my mat. So there's my design right here. Are we back here? So I'm taking it, and I just moved it in the upper left-hand corner of my mat. That's as hard as it is. Okay, I will notice when I'm here, see how there's fabric on the top of my mat? I can cut this any size that I want, and if I want to cut them all at one time, I can put little pieces of the fabric all over this and it'll just cut the whole thing at one time with all the different fabrics. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to send it to this, we're going to load this up on the Silhouette, so we're going to come up over here.
The mat is that sticky that
It has a little adhesive.
It's like you just spoke Norwegian just now. I totally didn't understand
Is the
that.
mat that sticky that
Yes, this is a sticky mat. This is a sticky mat, okay? So now, I'm over here to the Silhouette, and I have taken my blade. I'm going to pretend like I'm doing that. Here's my blade that cuts. I release it from its bondage. I bring it up here. This is where I adjust it so that it's whatever settings. Remember that from 10 hours ago, right? So I'm going to adjust it so that it's cutting on, and I'm on number 4 right now. I'm on number 4. See it? Okay? So I'm going to take it, and it has a little fin right here that goes in the front. I throw it in. I click it in. This could also be a pin or all kinds of different stuff. Now, here's my mat. I'm going to set it up here, right? And I'm going to hit, it's really complicated, load cut mat. Now, I'm going to send it from the computer to the Silhouette. You don't have to see that. It's no big deal. I did a little box down here that says send to Silhouette. And let's hope I did it right without talking.
Question while we're cutting,
Yes,
the quilt over there that you did,
that's all done with this. Oh, I think it's done. Who knew? Unload. I usually get polite golf applause. And now, check it out. What's this? We now know what this is. That's the stencil for my powdery stuff. Who knew? I'm so excited. This might not be for sale. This might just have to come down. I'm the teacher. I can do that. Okay, so that's pretty easy, right? Okay, that was pretty fun and easy. And so that's cutting fabric with it. Let me show you a couple things that I've cut with it, and we can cut some more with it in a little bit. Okay, so here is, can I bring them up here? Would that be okay for you? So I passed around this. I didn't pass it around, but I showed you guys this. That's that little embroidery applique, right? I went ahead and did like a little shirt, right? Kind of fun. Can you guys see in that kind of stuff? Okay. And so here's a little bib that I did. Aww. And it just cuts it out, so you don't have to worry about getting close to your knit and maybe snipping your knit or anything like that. And is there any other applique that I've done with it? I tried to bring everything. Okay, that's pretty much it except for what I passed around. But there's other things we can cut with it. Okay, you ready for going on an excellent adventure? Okay. And I'm going to pass this around. Just feel like the stiffness in it. That's what you kind of need. Yes, ma'am.
Like the elephant had ears that were the same color.
No, actually it's different fabric. I didn't make an excellent fabric color choice. This is a different fabric from there. I cut these as two separate ears though.
But can you cut them at the same time?
Well, sure. We haven't even scratched it. I could take one thing and say, fill it up. I have a little pattern that wants me to cut these little teeny tiny flowers out of fabric and then sew them with a bead on the background. They're little hydrangeas. It's beautiful. So I bought the pattern. But have you ever gotten a pattern home and did this? Really? Really? I'm going to cut things the size of my thumb? And I need 429 of them? So what you can actually do is you can bring it in, it'll cut, you just say fill it up, and it's going to cut the whole page or whatever. So there's a couple other things that you can do with it. I'm going to leave the world of fabric for a little while. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one question.
I have an answer.
Can that be used on fabrics like fleece?
I would experiment and test. Fabric's like a fleece, like a polar fleece. If I'm going to do a polar fleece, that stuff gets pretty fluffy, right? And this will cut cardboard, but you kind of could. I would do a controlled experiment. A very controlled experiment. A super controlled experiment. Because maybe. But it might be, I think it might be thick. Oh, and there's one other thing I'm going to chat about too. Now, this is something that's new, and if you want to play, this is something that's new and different. There's this little thing that's been invented called the internet. And you can go on the internet, and when I got mine at first, I didn't have a lot of instruction. So I went and I got on, and it's called Silhouette School. And I went to Silhouette School. Oh my gosh, I get a free tutorial every day, and every Friday she puts out a free file. Right? So that's the way I kind of dug into it. So if there's anything that you want to learn how to do, there's a YouTube, or as my husband calls it. My husband calls them YouTubes. I can't get it out of my head. But there's something on there that'll show you how to do it. Okay? So let's leave fabric behind just a little bit and show you a bunch of other kind of stuff that I did. Now, here's my hat. Aww. And so I was doing a hat at a show. I was working on the tin needle at the show, and I was doing an ear-to-ear design. This design's built in to the tin needle. So I'm doing an ear-to-ear, and then someone distracted me, and then someone came along and helped. They touched the machine in an inappropriate manner, and it got unregistered, okay? So this embroidery up here was nasty, right? And yeah, the hat wasn't that much, but I thought, well, what can I do with it? So I brought it home, and I can't embroider through this. I just can't do it. It's that thick bill of it. And I thought, well, I want to put bride on there, but I want it to be at a cocky angle, and I want it to be the getaway bride, you know, happy hat kind of thing. And so I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't cut iron-on with my silhouette yet. So I went out and bought some heat transfer material. This just makes an iron-on, but it cuts it in the right shape. So what happens is you just cut it out and then you can iron it on. And I'll pass it around and you can see the bride, because I think it made it kind of cute. Right? So I'll pass around my bride hat. If there's any impending brides in the audience, we will repossess it. Oh, and can you shoot that around with it too? So it's a sticky mat. Did I say that?
What do you call that mat you use for sticking the applique? That thing, what do you call that?
This is a cutting mat.
Well, you said it had to stick them to it.
It comes that way, so that you can. Yeah, it comes. You get one with a Silhouette, but you can buy more too. So if I'm cutting a piece of paper, the paper goes on the top here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you use the software that came with the Silhouette to make it that 0.03 bigger?
That's not Silhouette software. That's Embroidery Works.
Silhouette software doesn't read embroidery.
What he said. Okay, so let's talk about some other cool stuff. This is stuff that I came here and there was a cornucopia of stuff. Who knew? Maybe you guys didn't see it. What is this? This is not vinyl. This is heat transfer vinyl. So you iron this on when you cut it. They sell it by the foot. Cutting vinyl on this thing is wicked cool. I'm going to cut some here in a little bit. This is just a regular sticky vinyl, and I've not taken it apart. I wanted to do that with you guys here. This is just a piece of regular sticky vinyl, and you can cut some very intricate things. And so what you do is you cut it with the machine, and then you come back and take away all that does not please you. Okay? So I'm going to do that on camera so that you can see, and then we'll cut a piece of vinyl. Sound good? Am I going too disjointed? No. Are we okay? We're good. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure. Can we see over here? Now, you get a little tool, and you can use it to pull this away. But what I'm going to show you is I'm just going to pull it away from this corner down here. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to unstick it. There we go. All right. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weed it away. I'm just going to pull it off. Hold on. I just don't want to do the whole thing because I know that'd be like watching paint dry. So I'm going to make it so that I'm not pulling the whole thing off. Sound fair? It cut it, but I got to peel away what doesn't please me.
Yeah, no, I didn't know you had cut it already.
All right, so I'm just not doing the whole thing.
Oh.
And I'll do that out there during the rest of the seminar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it away and make sure some of it stays behind the part that I've cut. Now, this is sticky. Can you see it kind of come away a little bit? So, sorry, this is kind of like watching paint dry, but see how it's coming away? Isn't that cool? Just like my stencil. This is a very complicated design. It says, always remember you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And what I'm going to do with this is I have some old quilt blocks. And what I've done is I've taken them and I've gotten a frame and I put the quilt block on there in the background, put the glass over the top, and then this is going on the glass, so you get the saying with the design on the back of it. It's really quite cool. But I have another wrinkle to that. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, but see how it's peeling off like that? And this is called weeding, like you're weeding your garden. I didn't make that up, but I thought it was pretty clever. There we go. See how intricate that is? And I'm going to bring it up so that you can see how intricate that is. So check it out. Pretty cool, huh? See how it's just really, really intricate. Okay, so let's cut a piece of vinyl. You ready? All right. So this is heat transfer vinyl, and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to put it on my sticky mat. Now, this comes off of the background, and then you press it down. So you have to think about what side you're putting down. You with me? You with me? Okay.
You have to get the lumps out, the bubbles out?
I do need to get the bubbles out. But I'm just going to cut over here, so I'm just going to get the bubbles out of there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Perfect. This is not exciting, I'm just loading the mat. Okay, we're back. So, I'm going to, what, did I cut something?
Blade thing, have you changed your blade thing?
I'm going to change my blade thing. Okay, so I'm going to come here with a new page, you with me? And I'm going to open up something from my Silhouette library. Down here is my Silhouette, all the designs that I bought, okay? So I have all kinds of cool stuff. Let's see what I got down here. Let's see. Let's do this little flower. Sounds good. So, there's my flower. And now I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it in the upper left-hand corner because that's where I'm going to cut. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, what do I need to do for, this is heat transfer vinyl. So I'm going to come down here to do the vinyl. Maybe it's under heat transfer, should have found it ahead of time. Okay, now, what do I need to set it at? 2. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to fix it to 2. Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you again. Bless, blanket bless. Okay, I've changed it to 2. I'm going to stick it in there. I'm going to lock it down. I'm going to send this to the Silhouette. Now you're over here again, you can see it, right? We're not over there. We can go over there in a second. Are you ready? So down here, see where it says send to Silhouette? Click it. I'm going to pass this around so that you can see how intricate the design is before I take the back off, and I'm going to be taking that as I go. One quick thing as I talk about that. Remember I said I'm going to put it on the glass? This little saying. Remember I said I was going to do that? Get a picture frame, put my fun fabric project on the back of it. Now, what I really didn't remember to tell you was, I'm going to take this vinyl and stick it to the glass. But I want to stick it to the inside of the glass, right? So over here, what am I going to do? Mirror image it. So when I pull it off, then it's going to be the right way. Now these designs are really intricate on here. What happens is when I get all that pulled away, what I'm going to have is I'm going to have all these little teeny tiny little thread kind of little things. You use something called transfer tape or paper. And what that is kind of a sticky, kind of a lightly sticky thing. It lays on, it's clear, it sticks to the top of the vinyl, you peel that away, and then you lay it on the top of whatever you're putting that vinyl onto. And it keeps everything perfectly placed. So I'm going to pass around some things that I've done. Here's my name. Here's some fun little hoodoos that I put on my little rotary cutter box. I did pay $1 for this at the dollar store. Just saying. Here is a cell phone cover. I bought this at the same dollar store. I paid $1. Pass it on this side over here. And while I was there, I also bought a plate. And these are all different vinyl things that I've cut out with it. It's kind of fun.
Now, is that completely washable?
No, I think that's a charger. I don't think you're supposed to wash them. You can wash them. You can wash them by hand.
Yeah, okay.
And you can do glass etching with it. You can set rhinestones with it. The world is your oyster. Oh, and then the one that's sold out, this, what you can do is you want to print a photo on fabric. You with me? Mm-hmm. You can take your fabric, saturate it with this, get it nice and flat, cut it out the size of your printer. You shoot it through the printer, and then it prints on your fabric with this, and then you heat set it with an iron. Done.
Do you use a dry iron?
Well, yeah, you don't have to, but I use a dry iron. Water just takes it away. And when you're done, you just dip it in water and it all goes away, which is pretty cool. You heat set the printer ink.
Oh, okay.
Heat set the printer ink. Yeah, heat set the printer ink. And so all kinds of little things, like here's a little mask. I might not want to embroider this because it would take the soft side away. So what I could do is I could do that iron-on stuff like I just did here, sleepy time or whatever the heck I wanted to do. There's some things that are beautiful in embroidery. There's some things that embroidery's just, it's just not going to work, right? There's some things you want to be fast and easy and fun with. And something like this will do that. So I'm going to take it all off. I'm going to unload it, cut it beautifully. Let me pull off this background so that you can see. Or not. Oh, there's Silhouette cutters that test. No, it did it. Now, this is heat transfer, so it's really going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take it off. There's a backing on the vinyl. And so I'm going to find my little scissors.
On the floor.
Thank you. You're my monitor. And I'm going to cut away this. And just like I did the other vinyl, it's going to come apart. How am I doing on time?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Halfway.
Oh, I thought it was so.
Talk amongst yourselves. I don't know why I keep trying to focus with the other one. It doesn't work. You'd think after 60 years I'd figure that out. I know it does, doesn't it? So see how it's on a separate little guy? See how it's on a separate little guy? Sometimes you have to give it a little encouragement to push it out. Now, admittedly, this is not the most exciting design in my Silhouette library, but it works. Actually, pulling this vinyl off is very meditative. It really is. And you get a little tool to do that.
Would customers, does it have an SVG,
I appreciate you going there, though. I don't think that it does. Someone asked about Floriani, and I do not know.
The customer's not Floriani.
No, I know, but someone that just took me my mind to the other place. It's a scary place in there. I don't know if Floriani saves to an SVG or whatever.
So when you cut the purple, it didn't cut the clear back.
That's what you iron it on with. This is heat. This isn't just vinyl.
Yeah, that's why you have to set your glaze. Everything.
So I'll cut half of it. I'll cut this part off and we'll pass it around. This stuff that's on the back of it is meant for you to put your iron on so that you can iron it down. Because only my husband would iron vinyl with our really good iron. Did I say that out loud? I did. Okay, so this stuff on the back, see this stuff on the back? That's your iron-on sheet, okay? So when I'm putting this on fabric, it's going down that way. You with me? So I don't have to use transfer tape with this. It has its own that's built in. Okay? So I'll pass these two around and you can kind of see what the process would be on that. I'm not going to pin them together, but I'm going to pass that around.
Use a cover sheet.
Right, correct. Okay, so we've kind of gone into a weird place. Yes. I thought I heard a question. No. Okay, so are there any questions from last time and this time that we didn't answer on the fly? Or are there any questions about what we might do here with all this kind of stuff? I covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time. I really did. And so that's the beauty of So Fair. A lot of information, but it comes at you kind of fast. Yes, ma'am. Okay, how does Terrio Magic compare to spray starch? Terrio Magic is spray starch on steroids. Here is what it is. It makes it, if you were to use starch, right, you'd have to use multiple layers of starch. And you might have to let it dry in between. And if you iron over starch, what happens is sometimes you get that flaking off. You know what I'm saying? If you were okay to use the liquid starch, it would be fairly close to using this. However, one thing to always keep in mind when you're dealing with starch and fabric is starch is food. And one thing that I've always been warned against is using, in the past I've used starch on my quilts to get them nice and flat. So for example, if I'm doing a free motion, I would heavily starch the back so I wouldn't get those wrinkles. You with me? Right? And then it washes out. But then someone warned me that starch is food for critters. Right? And so I like to think I'm a good finisher, but not necessarily am I a good finisher all the time. So something like this is not going to be food for the little critters. It's not going to be food for critters. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My grandson came to me and asked me to do these little Yoshis.
And
they're on YouTube. They have the design and everything that you can do it with. But it's in a JPEG.
Okay.
So what I did was I printed it off. Then I had to hand cut everything out. Can I transfer those into a design?
Okay, cool. That's a good question. She has these little images, right? So I'm going to talk about Cutter just a little bit. The Cutter, you can bring in a file from the software. But what the Cutter also has is a little feature called PickScan. Now she has images, and if you want to cut the images out, there's a procedure on this called PickScan. What you do is you take your image, you take a picture with your cell phone.
But I already have pictures
Okay.
downloaded.
No. You have to get it here at the right size. So you can't just bring it into the software. You have to go through taking a picture. Ask me why. I have no idea. That's just how you have to do it. So what you do is you have your image or your whatever, or say I'm going to cut this flower out of this material, right? So what I would do is I would take a picture of that, email it to myself, bring it into my software, and then what it does is it translates all that into a cut file within the software, and it's called PickScan, and there's a special mat they have out there to do it. I'm not prepared to take you guys through that whole process because quite honestly I haven't done it myself yet, and I'm not going to do that without having done it. I got all the tools, I just need to be home more than 12 hours at a time. Yes, ma'am.
To do the fabric, you have to have a special fabric cutter?
Oh, well, they sell one, and Janice has it in the package that she's put together. There's a fabric cutter and then a paper vinyl cutter. Technically, they're very similar to each other, but the thing is that fabric cutting dulls the blade faster than paper and vinyl. Right? It just does. And so I have a separate fabric cutter. This is just a regular paper blade that I use today. So the fabric blade is like a light blue, and I just keep that separate. It's always set up. It's always ready to go for me. And so I just slam that in there, and I know that it's set the way it needs to be. And then I'm just going to replace that a little bit more often than I do my traditional one. They have two, but it's going to be good. Yes? She was first. Hold on.
Is that a wireless cutter? Between your computer and
It has a wire,
but not wireless.
and it takes a USB. So if I wanted to take that design that I had and stick the USB in the side, I could have done it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you were next.
Oh, just asking which blade does it come with?
It comes with a traditional blade. But in her package, she has a fabric blade too, I think I read. Comes with a regular blade. You're good to go right out of the box. Yes, ma'am.
Can you cut felt in there?
Yes, you can. Cardboard. So, yeah. Polar fleece, I'm just not going there. I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking polar fleece, no. I just broke out in a cold sweat when you said polar fleece. I don't know. There's a way to do it. Let's Google it after class. Let's Google it after class. With I think with Material Magic, it would just adjust the thickness of it. Yeah.
Is the flannel issue stiff enough without the Material Magic?
Yeah. The flannel should be plenty fine with it. Remember, it just has to be stiff enough. Now, but remember though, it's a sticky mat and felt or whatever flannel. Just kind of think about that. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Thank you.
Did you have a good time? Oh my gosh, I did too. It was so exciting. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to be doing... To the letter. I'm going to be doing monogramming tomorrow. We'll be on a different machine. We can play a little bit more if the embroidery works if you want to. But if you have any questions, come on up and we'll do it and we'll play and we'll do whatever you need to do. But it was a pretty good first day of Sew Fair, right? Yes. All right. And all this up here and anything I have, just come up and ask and do.